Welcome to another recording of Beyond the Story. I'd like to just say that doing these recordings has really made me appreciate BTS and ARMY. It also has made things clearer in my head, about what BTS has gone through for over a decade. It's also made me think a lot about the resilience of the youth, but also, unfortunately, how we as adults forget that we should be conscious about our actions. And in a way, although we're not expected to be role models, but to live as best as we can and be kind, because the young people need to see that adults are decent. So regardless of the industry or the job, the job industry where we find ourselves doesn't have to be only the entertainment industry. But there are a lot of us in the workforce, in whichever country, that the young people need to find role models. It doesn't have to be a grand thing, like you're this niche profession, like a NASA scientist, or that it can be just ordinary people, ordinary adults trying their best to get by every day, and despite the hardships that we all face, young people also need to see that they are not alone, and that we as adults understand what they're going through, because once upon a time we were their age as well, and we too had issues or problems that are very similar to what they are currently going through. I'm a little bit actually nervous about the next, subheadings in chapter 2, because we're about now to witness what happens when BTS has their debut. We're well aware, as the community of fans, BTS fans called ARMY, know their history. We know their heartaches. We may not know the details, the exact details, but I think this book illuminates some of those challenges, those difficulties. Now, I don't know how I'm going to react, but yeah, I'm a little nervous for the next few pages. I know I said that it's a half an hour or 800 seconds, but I'm looking at my recordings and they all go over 30 minutes. So apologies for that. I'll try to see if I keep I can keep it shorter. Okay, so this is still chapter 2, Why We Exist. And the next subheading is teamwork. Young, how do I get that cool vibe like you? Jimin laughs. Before their debut, Jimin admitted RM to the point of asking how it could be like him. Oh, all right, I misread that. Jimin admired RM to the point of asking how it could be like him. And not just because RM was the leader or because he had the talent to work on songs without any help. The 7 trainees developed a powerful bond during their time in the dormitory. And by the time the debut members had been finalized and their schedule set, they had deeply influential roles in one another's lives. Jungkook even said, "Until now, the biggest blessing of my life is meeting these Youngs." So I don't know if I mentioned it, but Young means older brother or elder brother in Korean. Jungkook goes on to say, when I compare the me who had a normal student life with the me who grew up at this company with the Youngs, the me right now learned a lot more and gained a lot more. I don't know what exactly, but I learned so much. For example, I was actually ridiculously greedy. I hated losing. I was proud and was stubborn. I used to get in a lot of trouble because of that. And although my temper still flares up sometimes, I've learned to be understanding of other people first. Having been a junior high student during his time as a trainee, the management company was Jungkook's home and school, and his fellow members were his family and teachers. He adds, we lived together, so the Hills naturally influenced me, and I naturally accepted it. From the way the Hills spoke, to their personalities, and with music too. The time the members spent together at the dormitory and the practice studios, rubbing off on one another, gave rise to a unique team vibe. The spirit of support and encouragement paid off when BTS's debut was finalized and the team entered a period of seemingly endless training sessions. With a shared goal in mind, they carried one another to their goal. Dope, from the later album, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Part 1, contains the lyrics, Everyday Hustle Life, an attitude that was engraved into the members from the very beginning. Jungkook elaborates, we all challenged one another. There was something like that among us vocalist members, so we'd ask each other about our singing or talk about things like, this is how I've been practicing recently. If one of the members sang a cover song, we'd encourage him like, wow, your singing's gotten way better. In that respect, everything from the beginning of 2013 in the lead up to their debut served as a powerful source of momentum for their future. BTS's debut was set. The members had a clear goal and a disparate perspectives stemming from differences in age, hometown, and musical background slowly converged. B looks back on his time as a trainee. Well, I wasn't normally a practice buff, so people did have to tell me to practice more, he laughs. When I suddenly got in the mood, I'd think maybe I should do some practice.
If you want to make money online as an affiliate marketer, you may find this a little bit controversial.
When I suddenly got in the mood, I'd think maybe I should do some practice. And I think I just did what I felt like. But this was only V's outlook on the sudden new life he'd found himself in. Never having expected to become a trainee, but now only months from an official debut, he was slowly revving his engines, a little more firmly than before. V explains, I got a lot of criticism when I was a trainee, but I actually have pride because of that. Because I was criticized, I would really feel that I grew afterwards, and nothing that happened after our debut could faze me because I'd been through a lot already. V smiles about the other members, but says with a serious look in his eye, the way I see it, all of us members are ridiculous. We're quite feral and therefore stubborn to the end. I love it because in this group, no matter how much our hearts break, we only love the stage even more. So I fell down, no big deal. That kind of sentiment. Well, the members pushed themselves beyond their physical and mental limits with their growing teamwork. Big hit entertainments, debut plans were unfolding on schedule. The blog revealed the members one by one, and the vlogs let the members communicate with their fans. The mixtape song, Typical Trainee's Christmas, was followed by Graduation Song, complete with an MV or music video by J-Hope, Jimin, and Jungkook. It was uploaded on both the blog and YouTube on February 8, 2013. The blog launched on December 21st, 2012, with a posting of RM's mixtape, song Voice, had turned into a BTS media channel packed with glimpses into the members' lives, pictures, music, and dance moves. It was the prototype of the social media format that is now used on many HYBE artists' social media channels. On March 22nd, 2013, about 3 months before the official debut, the blog was updated with a video of J-Hope, Jimin, and Jungkook at dance practice. The final pre-debut blog post titled 130517 Bangtan vlog included vlog entries from all the members except V. These posts are still on the blog today, allowing even the newest of BTS fans to look back at how the team members transformed themselves as they prepared for their debut. Big Hit's debut plan for BTS had not attracted the attention of many at the time, but that did not mean the plan was a failure. People were leaving comments on the blog even before the official debut, and the members were beginning to develop a fandom. And though the debut showcase venue was not the largest, these early fans packed the seats on that fateful day. Just like the members, the budget and resource limitations at the time were also pushed to their limits. This means the debut plans were meticulous and tight, leading to a small episode that only the members still recall. Jimin explains. This was before V's reveal. Us six were revealed up to Jungkook, but the company said V is our secret weapon. V was revealed to the public on a visual concept photo teaser for the BTS debut album on June 3rd, 2013, hiding the presence of an attractive member until the last minute, then making a surprise reveal to add a new dynamic to the team is a strategy with a proven track record. However, at this point, the other members had already been communicating with their version with fans in the months leading up to the debut. Jimin reports, "We got fan letters and presents, each and every one of us, but V was the only one who did not get anything. It could have been a disheartening situation for a trainee still in his teens, but the other members showered V with encouragement." Jimin adds, "I remember we all got together in our room and encouraged V. Like, it's only because she did not get an official reveal yet. Don't get too down." June 13, 2013. A little before D-Day. The team was practicing the choreography for We Are Bulletproof Part 2, which alongside the title song No More Dream would be performed on Mnet's M Countdown on their debut day of June 13. Footnote: June 13, which is the day after the release of the debut album Too Cool for School and the day BTS first performed in public, is now recognized as BTS's debut anniversary and is celebrated each year in a fun event titled BTS Fest. During the session, J-Hope sustained an injury that caused synovitis in his right thigh. The choreography of the second half of We Are Bulletproof Part 2 involves a solo by J-Hope where he falls to his knees on the stage while simultaneously bending backward until his back touches the ground. Repeating this move caused significant strain on his leg, and the synovial fluid causing the swelling had to be removed via syringe. But before he could be asked why he went so far, J-Hope, recalling the incident, responds firmly, "If I have to do something, I have to make sure I do it." I hate putting out things that stink. Debut prep is a long, complicated, and difficult road, especially for trainees in smaller companies. But in most cases, D-Day comes so quickly that no one has time to feel empty. And although the first performance is not usually the last, it is the most important performance for the vast majority of idol groups. The K-pop idol industry emphasizes performance and style almost as much as musical ability, which makes the weekly music programs on both broadcast and cable TV some of the most important publicity channels for talent. As a result, countless idol groups clamor for limited broadcast slots each week. Groups that fail to develop a significant following at their debut performance or at least the first week of their debut are unlikely to attract further attention. Slots on next week's episode are never guaranteed, and some performances must be shortened to fit the show's runtime, meaning artists may not always have the chance to show all they have to offer. This is not a problem for established artists, but for newly debuting idols, even ones backed by major management companies, music show appearances could make or break their careers. BTS's very future, in other words, On their very first performance, Jin still remembers the tension of that stage. There's a part in the No More Dream choreography where I have to jump with the lyrics. It's a lie. But unlike in practice, we have mic packs and in-ear monitors hooked up to our pants since we're actually on stage. Because of the extra weight, every time I landed from a jump, my pants got pulled down bit by bit. My mind went blank, and since I was a newbie, I couldn't just shout, "Let's do one more take." So I thought I made a mess of my first performance and cried. But Jin's fears proved unfounded, as BTS had a super weapon ready to capture audiences in a single stroke. The dance break in the second half of We Are Bulletproof Part 2. In this sequence, J-Hope makes the jump with the knee landing, the move that led to his injury, and Jimin flips over him. Jimin then turns around and throws his hat, which Jungkook catches before starting his own dance. J-Hope recalls how the sequence came about. We were practicing when Sunseondan suggested when they each show off a specialty in the second half of the song, so we each developed choreography, and the three of us stayed behind in the practice studio, laid out the mats, and practiced over and over again. I guess this was when the 3Js, the dance line, was born. We Are Bulletproof Part 2. Their back-breaking efforts paid off. The combination of eye-catching moves, complete with flip, enraptured audiences and got the team the attention they sought. Jungkook describes how he felt. The thing is, I'm not actually catching the hat. It only looks that way from the seats. But anyway, the second I caught the hat, people there were like, whoa, we got goosebumps. Do you remember that? Yes, everybody, I think all of us, when we saw that trick, we all thought that Jimin threw the hat and Jungkook caught the hat. It was only probably after multiple times, watching that dance practice or that music video that we finally realized Jimin didn't really throw the hat. And Jungkook had an extra hat, on hand. But it was really one heck of a move, wasn't it? That was pretty good choreography. J-Hope also felt that his efforts leading up to the debut were rewarded. Before the performance, all we heard from the seats were, "Who are those guys?" But they saw our moves and started reacting like, wow. It was exhilarating, and I felt like I'm really glad I danced. The in-person audiences were not the only ones impressed by BTS. As soon as BTS's stage ended, then head of business operations at Big Hit Entertainment, Len So-hyun, received more than 30 phone calls with callers from around the industry praising the performance and even proposing business opportunities. The first broadcast performance showed the BTS members what they could gain from the stage. Jungkook learned that being in the spotlight made him nervous, excited, tense, and happy. Jimin recognized the existence of their fans. He explains, "Even now, I remember that one row next to the broadcast cameras during our first performance. The one row refers to the fans who came out in person to watch BTS live. Fans of artists who feature on music shows can come to the performances as a group through the management companies. The numbers of fans that companies can gather depends heavily on the artist's popularity and recognition. At the time, BTS only drew about a dozen fans who took up about one row in front of that small stage. Jimin goes on to say, if you think about it, we are total strangers, but they came all that way just because they liked us and stood there for us. They wanted to see us on stage, so they woke up early, couldn't even get proper sleep, and waited. And we prepared our performance so we could show those people. Their preparations led up to a debut with a small happy ending. 12. Their debut stage, 12 fans, 12 armies. And 10 years later, we're in the millions all over the world. Mind-boggling. Okay, from the heading alone, this is, I think, where it starts. The challenges a bit. Or well, the issues with other fandoms. Heading, outsiders. A trainee on the cusp of debut is, naturally, the subject of everyone's attention. Company staff members are responsive to their every move, and even seemingly unapproachable CEOs and company owners have encouragement to spare. And of course, support and expectations from friends and family are at an all-time high. But when the trainee finally makes their debut and appears on a music show, they see the cold, hard reality. The world is not that interested. Each episode of a typical Korean music ranking program, which essentially plays all week long, features about 20 artist teams, ranging from freshly debuted newbies to veteran performers who have been on stage for decades. The finale is always performed by the most popular artist of the episode. During the filming, most of the artists featured that day wait in the green room with the other artists. In this teeming crowd, up-and-coming idols, even ones from the biggest management companies, are practically anonymous in a sea of new faces. They are lucky if no one happens to hear a bad word out of their mouths and spreads awful rumors about them in the industry. Even among new artists, BTS were outsiders, practically stranded on an island of their own. And this was not just because Big Hit Entertainment was such a small company. Jin looks back on their plight as they waited in the green room for their performance. I was so curious that I asked another artist, how do you have so many friends here? And they said, oh, this person was at my management company before. What about that person? I asked, and they'd say, oh, we used to be trainees together at my old management company. It was like that with most people. They did not become friends after their debut. They were already friends before that. But our company was the very first for all of us. So at that point, we stopped leaving the green room altogether. Just as many trainees left Big Hit Entertainment before BTS's debut, It is common for idols in training to change management companies multiple times, and due to the sheer size of the biggest management companies, a significant number of trainees develop friendships with contemporaries from other companies. But the members of BTS had never been associated with other companies, and they had no particular cause to interact with other trainees. RM and Suga had switched from hip hop to the idol industry, and the other members had no time to turn their gaze outward because they were always listening to hip hop at the dorms with RM and Suga and perfecting their choreography in the practice studio. Jimin describes how it felt to be in the same space as other artists at the very beginning of BTS's career. I still have no idea why, but we seriously only ever stuck with each other, with one another. And I think it must have been hard for other people to approach us too. We were all clearly on edge because we were determined to do hip hop, not meeting other people's eyes. Jimin laughs. They were the outsiders in the green room, or to be completely blunt, they were just 7 people no one cared about. But at the same time, the members found their attention naturally drifting to the outside world. Even if they were clustered together in one corner of the green room, they could not avoid the music from the show. The TV in the green room showed real-time footage from the performances taking place outside, and the in-ear monitors they'd put on provided a live feed of other artists. These audio feeds in particular were a huge shock to BTS because for the first time, they were comparing themselves to their fellow artists. Jimin explains. There was a clear difference in our teams and the other singers' vocals. I was a newbie, and I did not know my own voice clearly or what my own weapons were, so I just thought, why am I so awful? And everyone's so good. I finally realized that I was a small fish in a big pond. He adds, if I wanted to improve somehow, I had to practice my singing, but I did not know how to practice. So I just kept singing blindly. Every time I made a mistake, I went to the bathroom to cry. Lee also criticizes his own early performances. Sometimes I'm browsing YouTube and one of our team's older videos shows up, but I always skip those. I'm not ashamed of them. They're precious memories, and they are always in my mind. So when I see them after a long time has passed, I think that's what things were like back then. But at the same time, I feel like, why did I do that at that time? B continues. I like my old self too. It's because I went through all that I'm the person I am today. BTS's debut exposed them to a flood of outside influences that heavily impacted their early activities. Jungkook began to sing everywhere to the point that he thought all the time I spend singing in the 24 hours I have is practice time. Jimin describes the mood in the team at the time. It wasn't just me. I think V and Jin also felt an inadequacy in their respective vocal skills. I had a bit of an inferiority complex too, so I thought I have to do better. If one of our members was practicing his singing, I did too. And so the members went on practicing even after their debut. Suga discusses how he felt at the time. I felt like a trainee throughout all of 2013. I didn't really feel like I debuted because nothing changed. The only difference was that we had TV appearances, but the things we practiced were the same. That was when I realized debuting wasn't the end. It all repeats itself, I thought. Suga's intuition proved correct. The BTS members learned that their goal of debuting was only the first step in a long journey, a journey that would take them back to their practice studio. I'll stop here. A lot to take in. I don't know, it just feels like a happy occasion, like a debut, you'd think. I'm sure they were happy that they had their debut. But it's like reality hit. And it was a huge punch. Realizing how much work that they needed to do to improve their skills. Feeling isolated because, they didn't know anyone. Other trainees, or rather other artists, whether they were debuting or they're veterans, seemed to know each other. There was a click. So can you imagine that? It's like it clicks. And yet BTS was just in a corner. Now, I don't know, I may be off, but it's like in school, right? You have group things. And I was also wondering, why were people not approaching them? I mean, even if they kept to themselves and they're, together and all that, and I don't know, I'm trying to wrap my head around, why not make friends? Why not reach out? I don't know. Maybe that's the culture in the idol industry. Well, I know things probably will still be difficult because I think it took a while before things got better. So let's brace ourselves for the next subheading. So we are still in chapter 2. So thank you for joining me for another reading. I hope you enjoyed that. Despite, it felt a bit bad, or I felt anxious reading those pages. But it's still really good to know how it was. And importantly, to read the words of the guys themselves. Probably was not easy for them to remember those times. Okay, this has been 1800 with BTS. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a good day and good evening.